Have you heard the news? It's getting lots of rave reviews. A good time is waiting just for you.
We got a lot of knowledge at this table, and without any further ado, I'd like to let them introduce themselves.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good. Good. So, yeah, Tonya Hampton and Tonya Jackman Hampton with family in the room, also Dr. Tonya Jackman Hampton. And I say that because it's an honor of my family, and I'm proud to be in that sort of order, if you will, as it relates to who I am and the background that I get to have the honor of sharing with all of you this afternoon. So I am a native in Minnesota, and or of Minnesota, and have been here all of my life, all except for 2 years, and went to undergraduate college at Clark Atlanta University, and 2 years before that I went to Normandale Community College. And what I can tell you is I am a family legacy here in Minnesota that I'm very proud to be a part of. I haven't done nearly as much of the work that some of my family members have done to maintain it, but I am on the good fortune of what my family has established here in Minnesota to get to where I am today. And I share that with you because of just the notion that, one, if you are from Minnesota, how many people are from Minnesota? Okay. Good, so a good handful or so. But, you know, to be from Minnesota and to have that connection, that's one thing, but I also recognize, too, that not everybody in Minnesota has some of the opportunity that maybe I had, but I do think that everybody can have choices. And my story is such that at Normandale, I was able to go to a community college and start out really slow and start out at a sense where their college was not quite so expensive, and then still transition to a 4-year college. So it's a good way to demonstrate that you can start out at a really good community college and transition. Once I got to Clark, I thought I would be so excited to be there, to be with all people of color that look like me, being that I went to Kennedy in Bloomington, and realized that, I got a couple Bloomington Kennedy members. I forgot that, yeah, absolutely. So Kennedy High School is a very different high school than what it is today than when it was when I was there. And so I thought that I would be, really excited to go to Clark and learn some things that I'll tell you about as we continue our discussion. But I'm very proud that I went to Historical Black College. I'm happy to tell you that story as we evolve. But I'll save a little bit for later and save some time here and let some other folks chime in. But look forward to talking to you and connecting with you.
Make sure that you know the connection. She mentioned her family. I am her family. I'm her cousin. This is my cousin Tonya. She also was referring to the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder newspaper when she talked about being a part of the legacy and the history of the oldest black newspaper in the state of Minnesota. So she's also a part of that family as well.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. My name is Annette and I am the student coordinator for our PBC HBCU college tour. This is our 14th year going. Last year we took 70 students. This year we're taking close to 100. And somebody asked a question earlier, when do we start taking people? We accept students on January 1st at midnight, and we say that because this year we filled up all of our stops by 2 a.m. on January 1st. And I was at home with my little baby, and I was quickly emailing everybody and letting them know that they were accepted. But we always have a very long waiting list. And it's just an incredible journey to be a part of, and we're going this year to attend FAMU, Fisk University, Tennessee State University, Alabama, Tuskegee, and Alabama State. I do have an undergraduate degree in psychology at Fisk University, and I have a master's degree in education at Howard University, and I'm a special education teacher.
Thank you guys for having me here today. So PSEO stands for Post-Secondary Enrollment Options. It's a program in Minnesota that all students, if they're in grades 10, 11, and 12, can go to a college instead of high school, and their tuition is paid for, their books are paid for, their transportation is paid for free. And so I participated in the program in my juniors and senior year. So I was able to graduate. I actually didn't go to HBCU. I went to U of M my whole career, mainly because of the PSEO. But the credits and the tuition, the transfers anywhere, I was just a little lazy and I just stayed. So I did it when I was junior and senior year, so I graduated with my bachelor's at 19, then I got my master's in economics at 21. So it's a great program. I saved over $30,000 in tuition, and it's, yeah, that's what I'll be talking about today.
Wow. So yours was all free?
Yep.
Did I just hear that right?
Yes, all free.
All right. And so University of Minnesota free? That's a big deal.
And it's all colleges in Minnesota. So it could be MCTC. My brother actually graduated with his associates before he got his high school diploma. And that was free as well. So it's been around since '85, the program. But Project PSEO, we're trying to get more awareness for it because a lot of people don't even know it exists. So when I was 15, that's when you apply when you're the year before you actually attend. So I was 15 and I put in the application at the U of M. I also put in an application at MCTC. And then I guess both of the places took me, but I just decided to go with the U. And my junior year, I did only part-time PSU at the U of M. So I went to high school in the morning and then the rest of the day I took my classes at the U. And then my senior year, I spent all day at the U. So everything's paid for. Your books are paid for. You can write in your books. You can do whatever you need with your books. If you need a bus pass, you initially pay for it and then they reimburse you your school. The reimbursements could take a minute, but you do get reimbursed for that. The only thing you have to worry about is food. Just pack your own lunch and things like that. So that's what I did, and I was able to graduate with my bachelor's from the U of M. All my credits transferred, and your PSEO credits, because they are college classes you're taking in a college setting with college professors, they transfer. You could go to Wisconsin, you could go to FITS, you could go to really anywhere with those credits.
Tell me who qualifies to go on. Well, who qualifies and how can students get involved in the tour? And then I guess one other question that's probably not in here, but I want to just couple that with, and because you run out of room 2 hours after you open, are you guys planning on adding any additional opportunities, or can we direct them in another area?
Okay, so I'll answer the last question first because I have a very short attention span and I forgot the first question.
Me too. I already forgot what I asked.
So, because we run out of room so quickly, this is the first time this year that we ran out of room, and I think because I just started this past year. My mom has been doing it. Joanne Clark, she's the organizer and the founder of it. And I came on as a student coordinator as a favor to her. I said, oh, we should have informational because it was all word of mouth. And so we had informational in December, and I thought maybe like 40 or 50 people would come. And there was about 200-300 people at this informational. And we had to turn a lot of people away. And we were trying to get a third bus so that we can get more students to come. It's just so heartbreaking because I get these emails from these senior girls, especially, because like boys, I say, if you want to be on the waiting list, because the boys, they drop out. They have football, basketball, they drop out. If they want to apply, I let them apply. But the girls, they don't drop out. So the waiting list for girls is already too long. And so we were talking about getting a third bus, especially to accommodate the seniors, or the juniors this year, that will be seniors next year. We just haven't established that yet. That's why we do a lot of fundraising. The students have to pay a certain amount, but we go out and we fundraise, and we get money from school board members and just prominent community members, and that's the reason why we have been able to be successful in this tour for the past 14 years.
Come back to, I'm just like you. I got a short attention span. I always tell people, I have a good memory. It's just short. That's all. Who qualifies and how can students get involved with the tour?
So in order to qualify for the HBCU tour, the qualifications are you have to are on our website, www.pbccollegetour.com, and you have to have a 2.0 GPA, and also you have to submit the application, your transcript, and you have to complete an essay. and a photo of yourself. You have to submit all of those things along with the application to me. And as long as you complete, it's first come, first serve. We do an interview, a student and parent interview to make sure that you're going for the right reason and not just going just to have fun and be with your friends, that you're really going for the reason. And then we have workshops that are required. We have 2 that are parent and student workshops that both parents and students have to attend. And then the rest of them are student workshops that we talk about college prep and financial aid and everything. And as far as the GPA goes, we have accepted students in the past that have been below a 2.0. What they need to do is they have to show us evidence that they are getting their grades up. So if you have a 1.8, for example, which is not high, but you are, let's say you're going to do tutoring 3 times a week and you're just really working hard. So as long as you can show us proof that you are working hard to get your GPA up. This is my mom's vision, is that sometimes, and this happens often, students will go on this tour with low GPAs, and it will inspire them and give them purpose. And they'll say that all the time, you know, ever since the HBCU tour, I'm just so excited about college and I'm gonna get my grades back in order. So she doesn't want to turn people away because of their GPA. So.
Are you willing, I know you guys are gonna say no to this, but I just thought I'd ask since they asked me, to take donations today? I thought that just maybe you say not today, but they want to. So who they give it to, Mom?
Yes.
Over there. Okay, somebody. They want to know if they can give personal donations right now today to benefit the HBCU tour.
And it's non-profit, so you can write it off.
Okay, there you go.
You can, we absolutely take donations and to the Proceed Corporation. And if you would like to actually sponsor somebody that's going, we also accept. We have that, and we can pair you with somebody that is going, if you just want to sponsor a young man or a young woman, and if you just want to donate to the pot, to the whole the college tour for us to get our bus and hotel. We accept that as well too. We encourage you to, if you're thinking about giving money back to your community, this is a great way to do that.
Decide to go to an HBCU as opposed to staying right here and going to the U or one of the local colleges?
So the real story is not as much as it was different once I got there, and I actually wanted to go to California. So I went home one day and told my dad, Jack, who is really a person that inspires me in and of himself, and said, "Hey, I'd love to go to California." And I'm the baby of the family, as they often call me, the baby. But at any rate, I was having this conversation. He did not at all like the idea of me going to California because I was the baby. And so 2 weeks later, I went back and I went to a visit in Atlanta. They had what's called Freaknik there. You maybe have heard about it if you're my generation. And Freaknik no longer exists anymore. But Freaknik was a great opportunity for me to get orientated with Atlanta. And in Atlanta at Clark, there is Clark, Morehouse, and Spelman. And I had a really good friend at Spelman who I was going to visit. And it was me, and actually I'm looking at Wendy Puckett in the background, and Mino went with me. And she knows who Mino is. And her and I and another individual went and had a really good time. And that was my next nudge to go. So then I got back home and told Dad, I said, "Hey Dad, since I can't go to California, can I go to Atlanta?" And he was caught on California because it was so far, and I didn't think that he would, want me to go to Atlanta. But sure enough, when I told him that I was going to go to Atlanta and it was a historical black college, he was like, "Yes, you will go." And so I remember that, and had it not been for that conversation, I would not have made the next step to fill out the application. And for me personally, it was great to be in a community even though I went down during a time that they were having a really good time. It was great for me to be in a community of people who were educated, who looked like me, who were trying to achieve their goals and get a college degree. And that I didn't see in Minnesota, frankly. And so it was great for me to be able to have the opportunity and said that I want to do this too and have the educational experience, and so I went. And I'm so glad that I had that experience and went. That's my story.
Are you sticking to it?
Sticking to it.
All right. So tell me then, because someone did want to know, what was the benefit then of attending an HBCU?
Yeah. Well, there's so many benefits. Aside from the obvious of the degree, but for me, culturally, it was significant. And again, being from Minnesota, going to a school that was predominantly a white school, being there with a dozen or so of people of color, and probably about 5 or 6 people, one of which person that is still my very best friend that lives now in DC, are the people that were blacks or African American. And so the benefit for me was to get reunited, if you will, with my own color, and to be able to identify with people who look like me and were after some of the same goals. The other benefit was I learned about my own Black history. Now, I didn't learn everything, but I learned some things that I didn't learn. I also learned more sort of multi-dimensional things related to diversity and inclusion. And I'll say it was the foundation of what I do today. So I'm the Vice President of HR and Organizational Effectiveness at Planned Parenthood. And I've been in HR for now the last 25 years and really focus on trying to create equality in workplaces. And so while being at Clark, I recognized twofold. One, I came there thinking that I would get this sort of culture experience with my own culture, and I had struggled with being in Minnesota and identifying with others, and frankly, they told me that I did not belong in many different ways, so I got called many different names. Some of them, or most of them, were not my name. But at any rate, right, so then you fast forward, I get to Atlanta and thinking that I'm gonna be in a place where I'll be accepted, and was not initially accepted. And you might wonder why, maybe not, but I wasn't accepted initially because I'm light-skinned, I have straighter hair, and I don't talk Black, right? So those were the reactions that I got from people. And what I realized in that is that there's no right or wrong, number one, in how you talk. And last time I checked, talking the way any one of us talk is a way of how we identify who we are. And so the component that was a part of that is that because I used certain grammar, people felt like I talked proper. Wow, right? Like proper should be about, right, that's how you should talk, and that's language that we use, whether we use slang language or we use a certain language that someone might feel fits in a certain box, should not set us up in a particular category and whether or not we should be accepted. So that was sort of one point of exclusion. And I'll come back to a good story around HBCUs in a minute, but the other aspect that I didn't expect was the color dimension, and being surprised by the idea that there are interracial cultural challenges that we even have within our own culture, right? And so that became loud on a really big volume for me at that young age. And then to be there and be so far away from home and isolated and having to deal with that. So 2 weeks into the time period, I actually was on my way home because I thought, oh gosh, what do I do and why? But fortunately, I found a really good group of friends and got acquainted, and also found a really good group of friends within the degree that I was going after, which was a political science and pre-law undergraduate degree. And so I did get back to the purpose of why I was there, that I was there with people, right, that looked like me, that were after the same goals and wanting the same experience and getting an education. And so that was benefit number one. Aside from the cultural things that I learned that perhaps were barriers at first, but it actually created another part of a learning for me that made me realize that there's still work to be done around diversity and inclusion. Whether we're talking about all of us in this room, if the majority of us look the same, there's still an opportunity in every space that we are in to create diversity and inclusion. And so that is one of the more significant benefits that I've had. as I've reflected and as I continue my journey in the professional space to try to drive and redirect organizations.
How would you compare the University of Minnesota, completely on the other side of the spectrum? You're about the only black person versus being the majority. How would you compare going to a university like that, and how did that affect your life?
It's on. Okay, good. So I went to the University of Minnesota from St. Louis Park High School. So it wasn't much of a difference. St. Louis Park is not super diverse. I think now it's a little better, but in my classes it was one black person and it was me. So the U of M is pretty much the same. There are pockets where we do have historically black fraternities and sororities at the U, and there's also student groups, big student groups like the BSU. And so those groups almost create a sense of community and a sense of family that you don't necessarily get dealing with other people. You have a group of people who understand what you're coming from. You don't have to explain things to them, and they just get it, which is something that I really appreciated finding and BSU in undergrad, and then HSOCA when I was in graduate school, or BGAPSA in graduate school. But whereas like Clark, you're saying that everyone is like that, so you don't really have to look for it. At predominantly white institutes, you have to like actively search for a community.
Do you have to go to a certain school to participate, first of all, with the PSEO program?
No, you can go to any school in Minnesota. Literally any school.
And what's the grade? Is there a certain grade?
So different schools have different requirements. Like the U of M, I think they're 3.5. MCTC is, I think, like a 2.8. And you have to take an AccuPlacer, which is just a test that, so they know where you are. If you have to take remedial classes and things like that. So that's really it. The U asks for like a personal statement. MCTC didn't ask for that. It's just really the AccuPlacer, and that's it. You fill out a balance sheet where you talk about, I have these many credits left, these are the credits, I have the transcripts, balance sheets. It's pretty basic things like that. So it's literally anyone can do it.
And then what grade? I mean, what do you have to be a certain grade level?
So 10th graders, they open it up to 10th grade. You can take one class right now in 10th grade, and you have to take it at a community technical college. And then you can, in 11th and 12th grade, you can take it all day at any university in Minnesota.
So while you're in school and you can start getting your college degree under your belt, then when you get out of high school, you're just about out of school. You don't have to continue going to school years down the road like a lot of us do. So when you have that opportunity to do that short-term college, it feels short-term. Did it feel short-term to you?
Yeah, it actually was really fast.
Yeah, it's just like, I got a degree. They want to know. Yeah, you might. They want to know when is the day. They want on this tour. Y'all better hurry and get 2 buses here as fast as you can. When is the deadline for you to? And I know you said midnight, but is there like a time to register before then? Because they want to know when is the deadline for the 2019 tour.
Yeah, so we'll have another information also. If you go onto that website, you can actually send me an email and say, add me to the contact list. You might get spammed a little bit with scholarships and stuff from me, because I send out, it's just like every month or so, I send out just information like summer jobs for people and stuff like that are not necessarily going on the tour. But I'll also send out a flyer, and I'll let you guys know, hey, we're having an informational on this day, come on out. And then I also send those people an email and say that the link is now open, and I send that out at midnight, and then, because I close it, and then I open it, and then it just goes crazy. So if you don't apply on January 1st, then you might be on the waiting list. But we stopped really taking applications March 1st, and unless you're a male, if you're a male, then we due to special circumstances, especially if you're a junior in high school.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna come back to you, cuz, in just a minute, but Aaliyah, got another question here for you, for the PSEO. They wanna know, do you have to, does that only apply to Minnesota schools, or if somebody's not from Minnesota, can they get into this program in another state?
No, it's just Minnesota schools. So you have to be a resident of Minnesota, and the college has to be somewhere within the state boundaries. Any college, private school, technical school, state university, any school, yeah.
As a senior, I'm looking at getting my AP credits transferred to a college credit, and many schools have a maximum for credit transfers. Can you bypass the maximum with the PSEO?
Yeah, many times you come in as a transfer student. For example, my brother, he did PSEO at MCTC, and he graduated, and all of his credits transferred to the U of M. Like, he came in as a transfer student, so his credits went. So he didn't have to pay at all for those first 2 years. Well, he didn't pay for the first 2 years. So it transfers. Whereas AP, sometimes they even make, based on the test score you get in the AP exam, they might not necessarily transfer, right? How much is it out of 4 or 5? So if I'm getting a 1 on the AP test, you're probably not going to transfer those credits because you didn't show success in those classes. But with PSEO, whatever grade you get will transfer. But it's also double jeopardy, because if you fail a college class, you're also failing at high school too. Because it's dual credit. So whatever you do in high school, in college also impacts your high school grades.
Okay, so and some of the challenges you had at HBCU, but how did that prepare you going to an HBCU for your career today?
Yeah, so the preparation was the education that I received, as well as the community that I was a part of, being at Clark and learning about my own Black history, and then bringing that into the role that I had originally, which was working with a small law firm on employment law issues. It actually evolved over time. But the work there was about helping HR professionals really create the right policies for their organization, so that anyone working in their organization was not treated unfairly, so harassed, or in the cases of women or people of color, they were not discriminated against. And so my studies, political science pre-law, that was right down my alley, if you will, in terms of what I had learned. And even after undergrad, I went to paralegal school. I got a paralegal certificate, didn't practice as an attorney, actually thought I would. But I decided that once I was in a law school, and I was married at a young age, so another benefit that I didn't mention is I actually met my husband at Clark Atlanta University. And then he came back with me about a year after I left Atlanta. And then we got married shortly after that, and had a girl who actually started out at Hampton University, and now is here at Hamlin, so she goes to Minnesota school. But you know, the things that help me, you know, in terms of education, really show up, and they showed up in my first job, and they showed up in every single job after that. The primary two components were learning about how to create the right type of environment so that people in their organizations felt like they belonged. And that's a critical issue, because of just when you get into corporate America, it's tough in terms of your ability as a person, one, and two, just being Black in corporate America. And so as I had my own experiences, I tried to help organizations and individuals and teams really create the right environment so that people who were going there had the best experiences. And had I not gone to school where I did and have the studies that I had, I don't think that I would have been able to help create that foundation early on, or even now today. And so I'm really proud of that, and to be able to have people come and say, you know what, the one thing that you did for me a couple weeks ago helped me step into a new role. And there are people that, you know, are other Blacks into the corporation, or there are other individuals of color. And so while I'm in corporate America, I get to still contribute and support the community.